Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin Van Churn.
My name is Patrick Ferry.
And welcome back to our show. Well, guys, the Bundesliga is back, and it's great just to be able to talk about live soccer again. So, Pat, maybe it's good to give our audience a quick recap of where American players are at so far in Germany.
That's right, Austin. With COVID unfortunately going on, but it's nice to see Germany soccer's back and the Bundesliga's back. So nice to get a refresher for myself and all the fans here.
Yeah, and I think the biggest storyline, at least for Americans in the Bundesliga this season, was the emergence of 17-year-old Gio Reyna. And, Gio made his debut for Dortmund right after the winter break, made his Bundesliga debut as well as his Champions League debut. So definitely big things in store for him. And, little disclaimer, I guess we thought we were going to see, his first start this week, but we'll see how things go later in the episode.
That's right, Austin. Yeah, we were so excited for that. But another player it's nice to see back, Tyler Adams with RB Leipzig. He had that calf injury problems. We'll get into that a little more. But he hadn't played since March 10th with the Champions League game against Tottenham. It's nice to see him get the start for RB Leipzig in their game.
Yeah, and if you're talking about Tyler Adams, you got to talk about Weston Mckennie. And, this season, Weston's, I think taking the next step as a player. He's still not maybe as consistent as we want, but he's helped Schalke climb back into a Europa League position. So overall, a pretty successful season. So it's good to see him back on the pitch this weekend as well.
Couldn't agree more, Austin. And some unfortunate news, but again, we're exciting to see Josh Sargent get some minutes on the pitch. But he's having success at Bremen, finding success at Bremen, hard to come by. Just a very difficult situation. We'll get into it, tactics, management, things like that. But nonetheless, Austin, I think overall it's just that period of time where players are out with COVID, getting that rustiness off the pitch, the lack of fans and that motivation you get from them can kind of play into games. But nonetheless, it's great to see the players back on the pitch.
Yeah, and with them back on the pitch, it gives us something to talk about. So, Pat, let's get into our episode today. So the first player we're going to talk about today, and I alluded to it earlier, is Gio Reyna. So, Pat, going into the Super Saturday, I'd like to call it, Gio was definitely the talk of the Bundesliga, and was the talk of, American players in the Bundesliga. So it was reported about an hour before the game when the lineup came out that Gio was going to start this game, and it was going to be his first, start for Borussia Dortmund. And, it's pretty big starting right back after this long break. And, I think that's a real sign of intent of, how Lucien Favre rates Gio Reyna and thinks he's a prospect for the future and a player that can help Dortmund right now. So unfortunately, Pat, good things can't come to us American soccer fans. And Gio picked up an injury pre-match. So it was announced, I think, it's like 5 minutes before the game that Gio was actually pulled out of the starting lineup for Dortmund and replaced by Torgan Hazard. So, it worked out well for Dortmund. They won 4-0 on the day, and Torgan Hazard scored. But for us American soccer fans, Pat, it was definitely, a blow to our weekend and a blow to the return of soccer.
That's right, Austin. And like you mentioned, just the trust the coach has in Dortmund overall with Gio and his development, coming against a rivalry game right back from this COVID time. So it would have been incredible just to see him. The storyline was there, all eyes on him. Unfortunately, injuries happen, and hopefully it's nothing too serious.
Yeah, and it's good you brought up that at the end too. From what we hear, the injury wasn't too serious. There's been kind of conflicting reports as to what the status of that injury is, but from everything that we've really heard, it doesn't seem like Gio's going to be out for an extended period of time. He may miss next week's game. We're not really sure at the moment, but I guess that's good, Pat. It could have been a lot worse of an injury and a lot worse of an outcome. So delaying a start or even minutes for for another week or two isn't the worst thing that could have happened.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And just kind of easing back into things and more training taking place. So hopefully, like you said, just getting back, and nice to see him on the pitch for Dortmund, because they're in a really good spot right now. I don't know the exact tables, but are they second, Austin? Right?
They're second right now. I think they're still 4 points after the weekend behind Bayern, so they're right there. Bayern's got to kind of struggle a little bit for them to get really back into it, but we'll see what happens. You never know without the fans.
That's right, Austin. You never know. But I guess kind of shifting to another game. Unfortunately, my stream for the Dortmund Schalke wasn't working, but I was able to tune in to Tyler Adams with RB Leipzig in their 1-1 draw against Freiburg. So just to kind of highlight in the beginning, Tyler Adams, he had that injury spell, then this time with the pandemic, and even before that, Austin, even back to December and the early part of the year, that calf injury, I believe it was, the left calf was really, really struggling during that time. So it's great to see him get his first game back in a while with a nice start. I think he played about 68 minutes, and he came off for one of the midfielders, or Sabitzer. And yeah, overall, Adams had kind of a mixed performance, as well as the team just in the first half. Again, like a lot of the trends, I think, was just players getting used to it without the atmosphere of the crowd, as well as just being on the pitch again after a long period of time. So Adams was deployed at that right wing back spot. Interesting. Kind of had the license to get forward. He even popped up sometimes centrally in the midfield, but always reverted back to the touchline there on the outside and kept things tidy, played a lot of one-touch balls. It seems to be they're building out of the back from the keeper. He would play it interchangeably to the center back or the mids, making some darting runs up the lines and sniffing out any danger, which he does best, Austin. But it was unfortunate to see him get subbed out just because it was funny, they subbed out the whole right side there, the right back midfielder and the attacker up there, and they were able to score a goal and get that draw.
Yeah, it was definitely. I know I was seeing some of the highlights of the game and just hearing some of the chatter about the game too, and it seemed like Leipzig really just didn't come out of the gate strong, on the day, and I don't think you could blame Tyler in it. Kind of like you were alluding to, he was, he did his job, but it just seemed like Leipzig were definitely, they didn't bring their A game back from this long break, which is
that's right, Austin. Couldn't agree more. Like you said, they just had these moments and lapses in defense because they had the possession most of the game, but those quick little moments can change anything in soccer in an instance. So this draw kind of hurts them a little bit, Austin. I think they're now in fourth, so clinging on to that Champions League spot, only 1 point above Bayer Leverkusen. So again, that gap's kind of closing for them, but hopefully they can kind of solidify that Champions League spot.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because they came into the winter in first place, above Bayern Munich. So, to drop, I think they're now, they got a draw. So I think they're 7 points back or eight points back maybe from Bayern. So that's a lot of points to lose on a team in this, winter or the spring portion of the season. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Going into the winter, we thought maybe Tyler would come back and help them win a championship, and now we're kind of looking at them clinging to that Champions League spot. So
exactly. Yeah. So again, just overall, nice to see Adams back on the pitch. I know he had a few moments where he lost it in possession, but nonetheless, that's a lot of the players just kind of getting back into the form, and hopefully we'll continue to see him start because I would love to see him maybe shifted positionally. I know we've talked about it a little bit before. Yeah. He was kind of, kind of fading away or disappearing on that touchline where he could definitely be effectively utilized in more of the center of the pitch there. Yeah,
that's always going to be my biggest gripe with him playing as a right back. I just feel like he's not involved in the game enough. So yeah, hopefully we'll see him switch back. I know Weston Mckennie has kind of made the switch back to midfield now this year for Schalke, so hopefully Tyler can kind of follow suit. But now so let's move on to Weston Mckennie and talk about his day a little bit, which, Pat, it went I guess better than I don't know. Maybe you could make the argument it didn't go better than Gio Reyna's day, but he played all 90 minutes in Schalke's game against Dortmund, although Schalke lost 4-0 in the Riviera derby. So for Weston Mckennie, I don't think this game was as bad as that 4-0 scoreline. It was a very inconsistent game from Weston. And I think there was a lot of balls in this game that he misplayed. And there was, a good amount of errant long passes when you looked at some of the highlights and, some of the things he did offensively. I don't think he had a great game offensively, but there were some really good interceptions and, just plays Pat, where he won the ball back and just, took the ball off people, which I think is really encouraging. Again, it's hard to say someone played well defensively, so I'm hesitant to say that in a 4-0 loss. But I thought he had a pretty good game defensively and made some plays that kind of stood out to you. So I as good as that can be, I think he did a good job in this game. And Pat, kind of like you were alluding to, this was a game where it was the first game back of the weekend, so no one really knew kind of what this whole deal was going to be like going in. So I think for the circumstances surrounding this game, I think the 4-0 scoreline was a little undeserved, maybe, just because I feel both teams were kind of very sluggish. It had the feel of a scrimmage. You watch this game, it was not a very energetic game, so to speak. So I think you can give Schalke a little bit of a pass in that regard and for that respect. So what were your thoughts, Pat? I know you watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very interesting you bring up some of his defensive, I guess you could say, just the key defensive moments he had. Or if you look at it, just watching Weston, which I kind of gravitated towards or just focused for the certain amount of the stream that I had and then just the highlights. But overall, again, like you said, everyone was sluggish, but there were certain moments where Weston was able to recover, clear the ball of danger, make some interceptions and tackles like he usually does. So there were some moments that he really did save where the score might have been worse, or if he wasn't there in certain moments. Yeah. So I think if you're looking at it as a whole, it's rough, but maybe just picking some spots to watch Weston defensively, like you said, you could see some good spots there. And I even just want to mention too, Austin, I think he had an interview recently, or there was an article I read that just came out, and he said it was just kind of an awkward feel. And obviously it wasn't the best day at the office. He gave all of his effort there, but it just felt awkward that he described. That's what the Schalke team felt.
Yeah, it's good you brought that up, because I think I saw that same interview, and it was with Taylor Twellman, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be a weird situation for these players, something that they've never really, you can play in all these games without fans coming up as a youth player and kind of get that same feeling. But at the professional level, it's got to be, just different than those times playing as a young kid. So, that definitely had something to play in all the games this weekend. And it was kind of interesting to see how teams dealt with it, and, especially how our players who played in these games dealt with it. All in all, I don't think it was as bad of a weekend as Schalke had total. I think Weston came out a little better than Schalke, but still not his best game. So hopefully, we can see them, rebound here next week. And, I think they're still in the fight for that Europa League position. I think they'll, I guess it's not safe to say, but I think they're in a good spot, and we'll be able to, really challenge for that position, and this game won't really hurt their chances any. So, that's all I have for Weston, Pat.
That's right, Austin. And heading over to Werder Bremen, and Josh Sargent, he had a cameo, came on for the final 20 minutes, and an unfortunate 4-1 loss to Bayer, where Havertz kind of tore them up, and you could see a really bright prospect in the Bundesliga there. But nonetheless, just to talk about Josh's performance a little bit, Austin, it was very difficult to measure, and you could see the reactions online with everyone. And just watching the game a little bit, I was able to tune at the end and get a stream going. But he was just kind of along with the team. There's no service, kind of isolated out there, and the midfield was being bypassed. The defense was very leaky, and I think obviously that back line was the worst of all. But it was just a tough situation for them. Bayern played very well, a very solid game. And again, not to make any excuses, but this is, like we kept reiterating, the COVID timeout. You can see some of these discrepancies as the scores, the Dortmund, maybe this game. You can see some of the, maybe not certainly too close, but Josh didn't have too much service or time in the ball. I think he had maybe one or a few passes complete, some one-touch balls passing to some other players, trying to get involved. But it was more just trying to put on pressure on the defense and come back and try to win the ball. So just a tough situation overall for Werder Bremen, Austin.
Yeah, nothing's really changed since the break for for Werder Bremen. They've started this post-COVID season or portion of the season the same way they left it, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, right now I think, Pat, they sit second to last in the table, 5 points back from like the relegation playoff position. So they're firmly in that relegation battle.
Yeah,
and it begs the question, Pat. If they do go down at the end of the season, do you think that'll be a good thing for Josh to play in the 2 Bundesliga, or should he be looking to get out of that situation right away?
So it's a very interesting question, and I guess my again very even-keeled answers, as you guys know. I would say I wouldn't mind him in a different scenario being in the 2 Bundesliga, getting starts and minutes, but this is I don't want to be too harsh, but almost a sinking ship, and just that Hanover situation where, if they go down, the morale's bad, there's a lot of changes and things like that. That might not even be the best environment, even in the 2 Bundesliga. So that's my thoughts on that. I want to get your take. I would really ideally like him if Bremen were a little stable or able to pull out of this somehow, or just a lower level Bundesliga team and just stay at that top flight. I still think he has the ability. It's just been so difficult when you have no service.
Yeah, it really does feel like the Hanover situation from last year. That's a good comparison. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's a little bit different than Hanover is just, I think, the size of the club that Werder Bremen is. They're a pretty big club that's got some money. So I mean, you saw it a little bit too when Hanover went down last season. They did spend some money to try and reinvigorate the team, get the culture changed a little bit, but it didn't really work. I don't know exactly where they are at the moment in the 2 Bundesliga. They might be towards the top at the moment, but from just what we've been following with Sebastian Soto this year, they've been still kind of a crap show a little bit. So yeah, I mean, Bremen are kind of in that same vein. So I don't know. I just think right now my assumption, Pat, of where Josh Sargent's at is just he's in this environment that's almost too comfortable, or he seems like he's not motivated to really be there anymore. And that's just my outside opinion. That's not anything that he's said or anything that we have inside intel on or anything like that. But just the way he plays, it seems like he's kind of going through the motions of just a player that's not really loving life in Bremen. Yeah. So, I kind of am with you, Pat, in the same level that, the 2 Bundesliga may be good for him to get consistent minutes. I'm just not convinced that's really, the realistic case, with their coach there at the moment. It doesn't seem like he really favors Josh and has had some, kind of things that aren't so great to say about him in the past. So, I just think maybe if he gets a different environment, gets in a situation with a coach who understands what type of player he is, can play him in a situation or a system that suits his abilities better. I think that would be a better call than Bremen. But, it's tough if he's not performing on the field. It's hard to really give coaches of other teams, an idea of what he can do for them. So, yeah, it's a tough decision. Maybe
absolutely, Austin. I couldn't agree with you more. And maybe this is not the best example. This is a very micro level, but almost just from past experiences, even in high school, when you're like for Josh, like coming in, maybe again, just promising with Bremen and just the losing aspect. And you could even see it if you watched that Sunderland documentary where a team's just toiling away and they have some talent, but it's just hard to really, like you said, show your quality where the team is just, the morale's horrible. You're a young player trying to maybe get integrated in the locker room with the squad and building that, being part of a great culture, and the coach, no one's on the same page. So again, I'm not one to make excuses, but all these things are adding up. Just a recipe for disaster for a young, promising striker or any player.
Yeah. The Sunderland Till I Die is a really interesting comparison you make too. Yeah, that's definitely kind of the feeling I'm getting around Bremen. It was definitely the feeling I was getting around Hanover last year. So
right.
Yeah, the more we can have players stay away from that culture and that situation, the better. So I think with that being said, it's all in all, I think a fair return to the Bundesliga. Maybe not the best return that we had planned, but hopefully we get to see Gio back on the pitch soon, and some of these other players playing more consistently and playing better. So with that being said, Pat, let's head over to Quick Kicks.
All right, guys, we're back. I haven't said this in a while, so I definitely missed this part of the show. I know Austin did, and all of you guys did as well.
Yes.
It's none other than Quick Kicks.
So you can test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
Well, like you said, Pat, it's good to be back with Quick Kicks. And today, Quick Kicks will actually be a little bit longer, so bear with us. But they're all, I think, good points. So the first one is Sebastian Soto, Pat. So we want to give you guys a heads up that Sebastian is rumored to have signed a contract with Norwich City in the Premier League. And that'll take place after his contract with Hanover runs out at the end of June here this summer, depending on how the rest of the seasons finish up. But we did hear, Pat, that this move's going to happen, but it sounds like Soto won't be playing with Norwich City next season. It sounds like he's been denied a work permit in the UK. So with that being said, Pat, if he's got to go on loan, where do you think a good landing destination for Sebastian Soto would be?
That's interesting, Austin. Maybe not a specific team, but I was thinking almost more along the lines of like a Netherlands, a Belgium. How are you kind of feeling about those types of leagues? Maybe where some young players can go to prosper.
Yeah, the Netherlands is interesting. I think in an ideal scenario, the Netherlands would definitely be a good place to go. Belgium's a fair shot as well. I think we've seen a good amount of our players go there and have some success, and just Americans in general. Sasha Klestin, Kenny Safe for a period of time was successful there, and Chris Durkin's there at the moment. So. So what do you think overall about this move to Norwich City? Do you think that's a smart move since, he'll get some experience maybe on loan next season since he can't play for them? Or do you think, it'd just be good to go somewhere else where he could play for his parent club?
I'm more in the favor of just the trends I'm seeing now to go to a parent club. I don't really like maybe necessarily the path. Like, for example, the Eric Palmer Brown, obviously he's doing better now, but just switching all the different scenarios. And again, it's a great experience to really go on loan to these new clubs. Miazga has done it, but he also had a hard time at Nantes. So just certain scenarios where it's really difficult and the change of scenery can impact a young player developing. So Austin, I personally don't love the move. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be tough. I don't understand. Norwich City doesn't have a great track record with transfers like this. It'd be one thing to go to a Chelsea or a Man City, kind of like you said with Eric Palmer Brown, where for a fact you're not going there to really play at Man City. You're kind of going there to get that, get the contacts that they have with other clubs and kind of grow that way. So, at Norwich City, I guess we'll see what they can do for him, what clubs they can get him into. They are a very German-centric team. I'm starting to think about too. So maybe he goes back to Germany and kind of, finds a place in the 2 Bundesliga that actually plays him. But I think that's just the biggest thing for Sebastian. He needs to get on the field, Pat. and we'll see where it goes from there.
That's right, Austin. Some other interesting news. Sergino Dest, transfer rumors, Austin. So
yeah,
he's being linked to some great clubs, Barcelona and Bayern being the top two. There's some others, I think Dortmund, Tottenham were in the mix. But yeah, Austin, very interesting take with Barcelona and their developments with Semedo being sold in exchange for, there's been some trade rumors of maybe De Siglio coming in. So that would be interesting to see if the Dest rumors to Barca are true, because they have some other solid right backs. I think they have also Sergio Roberto. I think on loan Emerson with Real Betis. So kind of interesting scenarios for him to play out, and want to get your thoughts on everything.
Yeah, the Barcelona move sounds like a dream.
Yeah.
It could turn into a nightmare, though, if he does go there pretty quick. I know, I think I referenced to you off air, Ousmane Dembele was, a player with loads of potential, and
absolutely,
I thought he was going to be a fantastic signing for Barcelona, and quickly the fans turned on him. So, I think, if he can go to Barcelona, it's going to be a huge challenge, and it's going to be great to give our players exposure, and it would be great to report on them too. And at Barcelona, getting play time, that'd be pretty cool. But I think he's got to be smart with his next decision. I don't see any problem with him staying at Ajax personally. I know Bayern was a team brought up. I think Bayern may suit him a little bit better just because they're really thin at right back. And
right, they just have Pavard, right?
Yeah, Pavard's kind of been the main person they're playing. They have Odriozola on loan this season, but it doesn't sound like they're going to do anything with him long term. So, I definitely think Bayern might be a better fit for him. But just kind of want to get your take, Pat. What do you think? You on board with the Barca move?
I like it. I think any player, you see Barca, your stock's high. That's incredible. How could you pass an opportunity like Barcelona? It's a dream. But personally, I know it's hard, but I would like to say, again, from the more conservative side, just to buy some time, do another full season at Ajax, really cement yourself there, and then I would love to see this move. Maybe that's just too wishful thinking and everything has to go perfect, but I guess in the ideal world, I would love just one more year at Ajax.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think he literally just got into the Ajax side less than 12 months ago. So
fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see him get these opportunities, and maybe he, if he goes to one of these big clubs, he really takes his chance and goes to an even higher level and, becomes a truly world-class player. But I think we just got to be careful. We don't want him turning into, I don't know if we really have a good example of this so far in our pool, but just, a player that kind of burns out too early. I think that's something that's very, very possible in this situation.
Absolutely.
His rise has been so quick. So, I think he's in a good spot, so doesn't need to rush anything at the moment.
Yeah, that was it, Austin. Couldn't agree more. I think it'll be interesting to see what goes on, and just to see Dest back on the pitch soon. Hopefully we get that.
Yeah, if he stays at Ajax, it might be a little while.
yeah, that's true.
They're done till next season. So, but moving on to our final player in Quick Kicks today, and that's Chris Durkin. So we just want to let you guys know that Chris Durkin finally signed a permanent deal with his club Sint-Truiden over in Belgium. So that move will see him permanently move from DC United to Europe, and Pat, we're excited about that. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below. It feels good to say that, Pat.
It does feel good. And the second part as well, make sure to always check out our Twitter, Instagram, always putting out great content for you guys, even during that COVID time, as well as now the Bundesliga is back. So we'll keep the content coming.
Yeah, and make sure you check out our other two videos we put out during this time period. Our first one was our top 20 under 20 players in Europe, American players in Europe. And we recently just put out a super early 2021 U20 World Cup cycle preview. So, we go position group by position group, give some of our players we think, will be locks for those teams, and some other on the bubble players and things like that. So definitely check both those videos out.
That's right, Austin. Some of those players, like you mentioned, the starting predicted to start in 11s for that U20 2021 cycle, all those players as well as the current crop of players we have, the Pulisic, McKennies, Adams, are all kind of building to that one thing.
That's right. 2026 can't come soon enough, because that's the day we win the World Cup.